Alison Skinner. I'd like to ask the candidates whether they are aware of the current negotiations on Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP, and whether they are prepared to take whatever action is needed of their party policy to protect some of our institutions from the worst potential effects of this being implemented.
Start at this end of the table. No policy on TTIP, okay? Andrew?
Yes, well, TTIP is a Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, and it allows companies to sue governments, I believe, for lost trade and lost profits if the government then decides to nationalise something like the NHS, for example, which we rely on. We need a public NHS, and if, say, Circle Healthcare, for example, the American company that have now gone bust in a hospital, and they were to take the government to court saying, we've lost X million pounds because of this, and it's a threat to our national right to actually have publicly owned companies. And it's a threat to democracy, and it's a threat to all of us, because we rely on, the NHS being there for all of us. So we're completely opposed to TTIP. That's one of the reasons why we're opposed to the EU, in effect, because this is only there for the benefit of big business. It's not there for the benefit of us. So yeah, complete opposition to TTIP.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Alison. Yeah, I'm absolutely opposed to TTIP. I signed a petition against it outside my party conference a couple of weeks back in Liverpool, and was promptly told by a colleague that, "Oh, I don't know why you signed that, Matthew. It doesn't include the NHS." Well, that may be what folks are saying, but I am afraid I'm a sceptic on that, and I think that over time it will include the NHS, and to have a situation where companies can take governments to court if they're not allowed to have so much of our NHS provision, I think is very scary indeed. I mean, I must admit, and again, this isn't my party policy by any means, but I am personally against any private involvement in our health service. I think our health service should be both free at the point of use and free of private provision. But that is my personal belief, not necessarily my party's view.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, I agree with my colleagues who have spoken. Personally, I'm opposed to it. I don't think it's the right way forward. I'm also personally opposed to this kind of backdoor privatisation of the NHS that we've seen under the current government. I am pushing for this position, and I'm hoping that my party will have a strong position on this when our manifesto comes out. I think it has the potential to do great damage in the longer term. I think it's like a kind of sheep and wolf's clothing, wolf and sheep's clothing, in terms of the NHS and in terms of other public services. So yeah, I agree with what's been said.
Do you have something to say on this one?
I do, yes, thank you. Thank you very much for answering the question. As many of you know, the Green view, and also a view I share, is we're absolutely anti-TTIP. We think it's the worst thing in the world. We think it's pure evil, if I was to be honest. And I know something mentioned about the NHS and backdoor privatisation. Let's not forget that it is the Labour Party who initiated the first 5% of privatisation in the NHS. So we're absolutely against it. And examples have been our mayoral candidate Tim, who spent quite a number of hours just in the clock tower with 38 degrees getting petitions to get rid of this horrid thing.
Thank you. Next question, please, Hamish.